Oh, we're born ready.
All right, I'm going to go live.
Syrup sandwiches. You done fucked up my afternoon.
I'm killing you. Hey, man, get off your damn cell phone.
Listen, you didn't tell me like this shirt's like all unbuttoned.
I mean, what,
fucking Rico Suave.
the hell?
Jesus.
Damn Latin lover.
I know.
I know, man. What's
crazy.
he doing?
All right, don't talk. You're not supposed to talk yet.
Okay.
So,
Don't talk. Don't talk, just listen.
all right. So, hello to everybody in iTunes world. I want to give a special thanks to Kavar, everybody on YouTube, all the folks out there. I want to tell everyone, go check out kavar.com. Make sure you check out Kavar. Appreciate everybody. Appreciate everybody over at Kenzies, everywhere, Quest, Blackwater, everything. Garrett's Popcorn's making a special appearance. Special
That's
thanks
right.
to them.
Jesus.
Jesus. And then, of course, Q in the booth. Special thanks to him. We got a really fun, great, informative episode today. I'm excited. It's one of my best good buddies. And yes, for the record, I do have black friends. This is going to be awesome. We're going to get into some topics. We're going to get into some stuff that has been burning a little bit. Stuff I've wanted to get into, stuff that I feel needs to be addressed, talked about, a whole slew of things. We're going to talk about it all. This is a guy who not only has spent years at the sheriff's department, he's a Blue Line guy through and through. He's started his own brand in his garage. He's built his own brand to a multi-million-dollar company from his garage with nothing but sticks and no shoes. He's done it all with a sewing machine and no shoes. He's done it all from the ground up. He's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to not just brand building, media, but literally going from the squad car to the suite in New York, which isn't an easy thing. We have the one and only SURESH MADHAVAN from 221B Tactical.
Thank you for having me here.
It's a tough intro to follow. So we're going to get into some deep stuff. We're probably going to run long. I want to dive right in and get started. I know this is going to be a fun one, even for you, Q, because I know you stay on top of the news every day. You're on top of shit with me. Let's dive right in.
Conspiracy theories.
Mm-hmm. Let's dive right in. Let's get hot and heavy early.
Okay.
Are you going to the raid on Area 51 and are there aliens there?
I am not going to the raid. I need to work.
Boo.
And I think there are aliens there. Or there are some sort of... There's something there that they don't want us to see. I don't know if it's a object or a being, but there's definitely something there that they don't want us to see. For sure. For sure.
Are there green men?
I don't know if they're green. They may be gray. They may look like the icon on the iPhone, the alien. They may be gray. You never know. Emoji. Never know.
So, all that aside, It's pretty fun to have you in Vegas. We're gonna have a good time talking about some of this stuff. I wanna start, with you, and I've had you on podcasts in the past. I want to start with you, kind of your journey and what you've dealt with as being a black man in the gun industry, and getting your own business established, and even get into how we met and things like that, and some of the stuff you've been up against.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me here. It's
Beautiful facility. Isn't
It's an incredible facility here, and
Cave R and Arsenal do it right.
They do. I mean, this place is done right. Hands down, one of the nicest facilities I've ever stepped foot into, and it's not quite complete. It's there's more to come. So, very impressive. I think that first impression when you come into a building is very important. You know that I pay close attention to that with 221B Tactical. You only have one chance to make a first impression. So I think that the attention to the detail that was put in here is very important, and I was utterly impressed by it. It really was.
The shotguns and AKs too aren't bad either, aren't they?
Yeah, no,
We're gonna have fun shooting those next week.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun with those.
Yeah,
it's gonna be nice,
and we'll get to that. But get into this now because I've spent a lot of time, dealing not just with we've talked a lot about just the NRA and everything else. You got into the industry, and is it a white man's industry?
It is. It is. I mean, when you look at, we were talking earlier off camera. When you look at like the recoil magazines, and you look at some of the main hunting magazines, and you look at the sport as it is, some of the top competitive shooters, you don't see people of color. It is we're just gonna call it as it is today. And if anyone gets offended, well, that's just the culture today, right? You got to get offended.
Fuck 'em.
Yeah, right. Someone's gonna get offended that I'm drinking like Dasani water and not like Fiji. So, it's a very white sport. It's a very white community, and it's always odd that we joke about it. Like I'm the only black guy at SHOT Show. It's like me and Coleon Noir are the only people in that building in Vegas at SHOT Show. And it's people joke, they're like, if you see someone of color at SHOT Show, it's almost like bizarre. They stick out from a mile away.
I struggle with this, and this isn't a call out. We've talked about this. Was Corleone the best choice?
I think that part of what they were trying to do, they meaning the NRA, I think what they were trying to do was bring in someone of color that could help kind of bridge the gap. But unfortunately, I think that Corleone went away a direction that didn't quite do that. I know that as of late, he's done more to, I think, but now it's too late, right? But I think he's, obviously he put out great content, very knowledgeable guy, and did a lot for being an activist, which is what he is known for. He's known for an activist in the gun community. But, being an activist is one thing, but bringing people over is another.
I'll say this. I'm going to say something bold. I think Corleone was almost so well-spoken and so articulate that I feel like, he's a lawyer and all that. I feel like it was almost too much. He didn't really build a business in the tactical industry.
No.
He wasn't really an industry insider. He was an attorney who liked guns. And I feel like, he got a lot of clout because of that. But what is it? I don't know. He may get mad. Listen to this. I'm just asking the question. Other than mugs and T-shirts, I don't know that he's built a business from the ground up the way that somebody like yourself has. And I know there's others out there, but we're going to pick on you because the show's about you.
Yeah, that's one of the hard things. People now these days, they look at identity, and when you have someone that you're putting as the face or one of the faces of your company, of your organization, it's hard. It's hard because people want to be able to relate to that person. And I'm going to say this, and this is not a knock against Corleone in any way whatsoever. And not that we're afraid to, put some harsh truths or harsh words out there. But to me, in my from my background and my understanding and my experience, the average African-American man cannot relate to a man like Colion Noir.
Yeah, he starts to somewhere along the way become like, it starts to become like Hillary Clinton saying she can relate to the poor.
Yeah, you can't. You're a multi-millionaire.
I know what it's like to be you. And that's why I say, I think, he was, and regardless of background and upbringing, I think it was a little tough to say, like, here's a guy, I think let me say this. Q, I don't know if you could pull this up. It'd be important if you could. It's one where the black guy addresses the city council, and he talks about 2A rights.
Yep.
And he talks about fundamental 2A rights. And he's very outspoken. I know everybody's seen the clip, and I'll see if Q can pull the clip up quick and we can see it really fast, just even a snippet of it, Q. I think people would relate to that guy. I think he was like a fucking plumber.
Way more.
You know what I mean?
Way more.
And I feel like that's a guy that people would rally behind. He goes, I'm a good citizen. I haven't committed any crimes. I haven't done anything wrong. He's not sitting up there citing a legal journal.
Right.
And he's not sitting up there citing, he's not, what I would call just an advocate. He's the working class man. Here he is. So, speaking of, I don't know if you can add any volume to it as best you can, but whatever, if you can't.
And here's who the majority is. I'm the majority.
Yeah, but it's that clip. It's North Carolina man's speech at city council meeting about gun rights goes viral. So if you search a clip, he says, I've heard a whole lot of voices and a whole lot of rhetoric, and he gets into it, and he causes a lot of people to start to look at things differently. I feel like he did more with that clip than maybe Corleone's done in 3 years with the NRA.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. He was your average, everyday man who a lot of people could relate to. A lot of people could relate with, and he put something out there that whether you're white, black, Asian, Hispanic, you were sitting there saying, yes, that's it. You're right. That's it. He wasn't sitting there speaking constitutional code. He wasn't sitting there speaking, U.S. laws, which
He just said, why am I getting punished?
Yeah, and he put it in very plain language. And you know what? These days, that is, you want to speak to the listening, you want to speak to the majority, and if you want to speak to the listening of the majority, you don't want to sit there and be putting out legal mumbo jumbo. You don't want to be citing codes. You don't want to be citing statutes. You know what? Keep it real. Keep it simple. Part of how people learn is how they connect with the person, the listener. And to me, that's a lot of the breakdown that I've seen thus far, that the average person cannot relate to that person, so they disconnect.
What do you say, Q?
Yeah, I mean, you know me, man. I'm gonna take it there. So if y'all scared to cross the line, then
I'm fine.
Hold your girdles. But that's what happened. Colion Noir is what happens when you bring fucking focus groups in and high-price marketing groups. That
He was a part of Ackerman McQueen.
They think they can speak to the black community and this community or that community, and you get your focus groups and all this shit. No, just get a regular motherfucker to talk to regular motherfuckers.
Mm-hmm.
You got a focus group coming, and you pick this guy out, and he's well-spoken, and he's a lawyer, and he's No, go get Joe the plumber from up the fucking street.
That's right.
If you want a black guy to speak to the black problem or the black people or whatever, if you want a Mexican guy to speak to Mexican people, you know what I mean? That's when you overthinking it. You bring your goddamn focus groups in and all of this.
Yeah, I feel like that, and I've said this before to SURESH, and this isn't condemning of anyone. I mean, he's made his money, he's done his thing. This is after the fact. I feel like they could have gone from 0 to 50. They went from 0 to 100.
Yeah.
And they didn't need to go to 100. They could have brought in a bunch of different people. Now, it leads into the next thing.
Hey, you know what? And
Well,
real
go
quick,
ahead. No.
to your point, there's no backtracking, but I don't want to think like this is the bashing this guy.
No,
He's
no,
not
no.
doing anything wrong. He's just being himself.
Yeah.
I'm putting this on them as an organization.
He would have been a great
that tried to-
compliment.
Yeah.
I'll say this. This is
Yeah.
100% his defense. They didn't build around him.
No.
They didn't give him any
Right,
complimentary
they kind of
pieces.
stuck him out there, and
They didn't give him any complimentary pieces, and that was part of the issue. But that's not an NRA thing. That's an Ackerman McQueen thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's really where that went sour, like you said, with the focus groups and everything and the overthinking it. They need someone to be in the boardroom and say, we need every man. We need, we need somebody who's every man. The industry's funny, and we were touching on that. I walk around SHOT Show and I pay attention, and that we met through the internet, but on the floor, we spent a lot of time together before we called each other friends. And I've started to say it. I feel like that you are a very rare commodity on that floor. There's just not a lot of guys, not only who are real, who speak the truth, who will say what's on their mind, but there's just not a lot of color in plain English in the business. Now, how do you fix it? That's the million-dollar question. How do you get more folks involved? Is it just a white man's world, or is it how do you get more people to rally around the business in the 2A community? How do you bring more black folks in, more minorities? Because I'd like to see, like, I look at the fitness industry, of course, everybody knows this. And I look at like the strength cartel, and I look at that, and I look at guys, whether it's the Mike Rashids or the other that have broken into the industry with success. And I'm like, that's fucking awesome. Like the strength cartel guys are fucking awesome. And they're all, Mexican, and they're badass, and you want to go train with them. How do we get that in the gun industry without the stigma of they must be a gangbanger?
Yeah, so there is a disconnect where, being in New York City, you have, I've been exposed to a different lifestyle. And now living somewhat in the suburbs, I'm exposed to a different lifestyle. Q, come from where you've grown up. I know people that, grew up in Detroit. I know people who grew up in Miami. The problem is, you look at these magazines, these hunting magazines, these outdoor magazines, these people, they got these big guns. You're hunting elk, and they're doing this and doing. That's all in like middle America, right? And you and I both know African American people aren't living in these areas. They're not living in the middle of 500 acres in Montana, and going out on elk hunts and growing up on the farm with dad teaching them how to shoot a rifle and all that stuff. Being in inner city areas and these certain locales, you don't have access to some of these things. So it's not something you get to do. I was fortunate.
Dude, I didn't know what the fucking elk was till I went to college.
Right. Like, I know so many people who don't even know about that world, like that even exists. I was exposed to it, thank God, because I was a little bit removed from the city, and I had some great neighbors. They kind of took me in as their son, and the guy became one of my best friends, and his dad was into shooting. And yeah, they were white people, and they took me shooting and taught me about shotguns and rifles, and that was it. I joined the Boy Scouts, and like I got to shoot a rifle at summer camp, but most inner city kids don't have access to that. So if you don't have access to it as a child, you're most likely not going to gravitate toward it as an adult. So yeah, it's no surprise. So what has to happen is there needs to be a program, if you would. Did the NRA create a program with Coleon Noir where he goes into inner cities and he takes a group of children out to the woods for a week, showing them about hunting, showing them about tracking, showing them about using a long gun, putting them in nature. And
he did a social media TV show that he won.
Right. Like, so you're going on a range, and not for nothing. Once again, I don't want this to be like a bashing thing, but he's on a competition show with this NRA TV. He's there on a range competing with 6 other white people. 6 other white people he's there on the range competing with. And the fact that he won his own competition on his own show, that's another thing. I know people had like their own opinion about that. But that aside, why don't you, if you have that budget,
that platform,
if you have that platform to do a show, why wouldn't you go to a Detroit, go to a Chicago, where I just came from with this delicious Garrett's popcorn that I'm trying not to eat. Why wouldn't you go to one of these cities and say, hey, you know what, NRA, I'm going to bring in a group of 20 kids, and I'm going to set up a little competition, and then we're going to spend some time in the woods, and we're going to learn about, the animals and tracking and hunting, and learn about these weapons, and, show them some response.
I think I'm going to say it, Suresh. I'm going to say it to you, both you guys. I think, and again, it's not a bad. I think he had a golden opportunity to be like a Candace Owens, and I love what Candace has done, educating the community, going to the colleges, educating them on. Hey, I think the Republicans have done a genius job of getting out there, ground and pound at the college level, and saying we need to get out there. And obviously, Kanye took notice of it, and some others, and saying we need to educate these people on the young ones, white and black, all folks, at that lower level where the brainwashing begins, I guess, and explain to them who actually put these laws in place, who actually did these things to you, who actually created that snowball and took you down that road. She that's an educational campaign that Candace started. And I think what Candace did was really very smart. And the strategy that they used as a team was very smart on that. And I think he had a golden opportunity to do something like that, but I feel like that may have been too far. I don't want to say beneath him and Ackerman McQueen or beneath them in a marketing standpoint. Again, this is just a marketing study in how things could have been done differently. But I feel like if you took most potentially pro 2A black folks, minorities, and gave them some education, do a campaign, show them how to get a permit, show them how to get a CCW, offer courses, educate them, especially in a frickin' Detroit or in a Chicago. Show them where the gun stores are. Show them how they can be, taught the fundamentals. Offer them instructing. Offer them safe havens for what the sport they love and things they like to do. Walk them down the path of what it's like to compete and to enjoy those things. And I think you draw so many more people into the sport, because I think, and I do believe this with all my heart, just like I campaigned very hard to see fitness and MMA and different groups come into the gun industry, I think that's a huge opportunity missed to bring a large group of hardworking, working class, minority folks. And let's be honest, that group is underserviced in the community. And it's underserviced from the standpoint, I'm not an advocate of, some of the policies that get put in place in terms of mandatory interviewing and things like that. I still believe in the capitalist mentality. Work hard and you'll get where you are. Work hard. But I feel like there's been opportunity missed to educate.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where the biggest downfall is. Go into those markets, set up shop, find a way to organize, and build.
Yeah.
John, again, shaking the tree. I don't give a shit. They got a lot of work to do to undo the wedge that's driven between the black community and the whole gun situation and just in general, but especially with the NRA. I mean, let's be real. We want to talk about gun control. The last time the NRA gave a fuck about gun control was when they were trying to control it from the Black Panthers. If you go back and look at your history, they were all about gun control when it was taking it out of the hands of brothers that were in the Black Panther Party. See what I mean? They don't want to deal with that. They don't want to deal with that history. They don't want to deal with that ugliness. They don't want to deal with that asshole side that they were clearly on.
Most people don't even know what you're talking about. I know the history behind that, but what you just said, I would guarantee most people listening right now, they don't know that. They don't know that story. They don't know that background. They don't know that historical side of the NRA. And and Q, thank you for sharing that, because that is a tidbit of knowledge.
It's huge.
It's huge, and people don't know that. A lot of people talk about, they're like, the government's coming trying to take our guns. This happened in Germany, or this happened here. Listen, this happened in America. This happened in America, and most people don't know that.
And I think they are doing a disservice, Suresh, because, let's just be real. Be honest with stuff. Get out in front of it. Step up. Say, hey, man, this was blah, 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 blah. That would do more, like John's saying, to repair that, to build that fence back up, to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely, I'm not a candy ass towards the NRA. I have my thoughts, and I've aired them on previous episodes. My thing is education first is always paramount. You can't talk from 1,000 feet unless you can't build a 3-decker house on a 2-decker foundation.
Yeah.
So you have to build the foundation. And I feel like, and I've said this, I've had conversations with the NRA, as Q is my witness. I've had direct conversations with people there. And I've said, you need to start being insanely real. The moment you start bringing in people that are going to be insanely real and not overly polished, not overly cosmetic,
Yeah.
that's when the dialogue's going to start and the conversation's going to start. And that's where it has to be. It has to be out there. Bring up the history. Bring it all up. How do we fix it? How do we get it to the next level? How do we bring more people? Because everybody who ever listens to these podcasts or anything that we're doing, I am an advocate of getting more guns in legal and rightful gun owners' hands and giving them the education to support their growth either in the sport, in the 2A community, or as gun owners, collectors, and participants, and potentially business owners. That's how you build the foundation. If you want to be a great football coach, right, most have either played or grew up in that environment where their dad was a coach, okay? Even if you have to go back to their high school playing days. Bill Belichick became one of the greatest coaches in history simply by not only studying the game ad nauseum, but his dad was a coach.
Yeah.
His dad was an NFL player, albeit for like one game, but his dad was an NFL player.
That's okay.
He was a coach. He volunteered under Marchabrota, for years. Became one of the best assistant coaches for the Giants. Your Giants. And then went on and became one of the greatest NFL coaches of all time. The foundation was there. And I guarantee you, if you go on and look at every coach in the NFL, the foundation was there. Now, what the NFL is trying to do is artificially build that foundation by saying you have to, the mandatory that you have to interview one black coach, which I know Q, the rules. And that's a good thing because it builds that, I interviewed for that job. It builds that dialogue. It gets them in the conversation.
And now Jay-Z's in the conversation.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
You seen this stuff?
Yeah.
You seen this business?
Yeah.
Oh man, we don't even want to get into this. We don't got time. We ain't got the time for that. You better have Melody order
Christ,
dinner
man.
because let me tell you, we don't have time with this whole Jay-Z getting involved in the. And let me tell you something. I'm gonna be real here, right? I put out a challenge during the NFL kneeling episode. So first of all, it's been 3 years since Colin Kaepernick took a knee. 3 years. And I asked this the other day to somebody, and they couldn't tell me, they couldn't give me the answer. I said, it's been 3 years since Colin Kaepernick took a knee during the national anthem. What's changed? What's changed?
All right.
What has changed? Are there less people of color dying in inner cities?
No, you got a Nike deal out of it.
Are there less cops being killed? Has anything changed? People said he took a knee for recognition and to start a conversation. The problem is that's what's happening a lot. There's a lot of people doing things to start a dialogue, to start a conversation.
They're looking for a viral moment.
Yet it fizzles away, it dies, and nothing happens. So during that time, I put out a challenge. I put out multiple challenges. I said, I want one NFL player to join me. I will fly to your city of choice. Join me. Come to the city. Let's round up a neighborhood full of young black children, and let's sit down and let's have a conversation with them, and let's show them, let's teach them about fitness. Let's teach them about getting involved in the community. Let's show them how to get on the path of becoming a productive member of their community to help make the communities they live in better, stronger. Join me. I put that out multiple times on every social media platform, and I didn't even get a single. I wasn't looking for some first string NFL star to contact me. I didn't even have a third string NFL player.
Practice squad.
Give me the practice squad guy. One African American NFL player to join me, and I would pay their way, and I would pay my way, and I would come join them, and I would cover the cost of everything for that day in that community for all the children. I would cover it. Not one person responded. So that, you know what that tells me? You want to take a knee on Sunday, on game day, to say, yeah, I'm trying to initiate change, but you don't have it in you to actually take the time out of your off day. Take the time off, not Sunday. You'll take a knee on the field on Sunday, but come Monday when you're off, you don't have the time to meet someone who said he's going to bankroll an entire day to take care of an entire community to show these children what it means to be members of their community.
I call those SBs, Suresh. They're just sound bites.
Yeah.
That's all.
What it
sound bites.
is, you know, you guys.
I was disgusted. I was disgusted.
It's chasing the viral moment. And that's what a lot of guys do. They say, because the term platform, okay, gets abused in media. And it gets abused in professional sports, too. I have a platform. Well, I have a platform. And the terminology we use is really the wrong terminology. Yes, you have a platform. But it's what you do when nobody's looking that defines how you use that platform. It's what you do when there's not a camera on you that defines that platform. You've been with me long enough, and I know this pales in comparison, but I'll give you an analogy. Everybody thought I was crazy, and to an extent Tony and the Pat McNamara's out there, when we would bring fitness into shooting. I was lauded. You saw what I went through.
Yeah.
You lived it with me on the phone.
I seen it.
Oh, it's just bodybuilders holding guns. It's just these are male models. Oh, fuck them. They weren't in this. They weren't special ninja forces. They didn't do this. They didn't do that. Okay. They didn't realize that at the core of it, I was trying to bring a community into this, trying to get them to open up about their love for the community. What's the term? The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
I was trying to bring more people into the community, trying to bridge a gap, okay, between two worlds. Tony did it physically. I was trying to do it via my social spheres and centers of influence and a lot of the networking that I do that nobody sees. It was something that was an unseen thing. And when you put something out there that says this isn't going to be glamorous, it's not going to be a photo shoot, you're not going to have a big to-do, sorry, that's when people's turtle shell comes out.
Yeah, they don't want any part of it.
And they start to turtle. And, oh, you know,
they don't want any part of it.
I don't want to. Oh, I can't do it. Oh no.
Yeah, they don't want any part of it. You know, it's the same. You know, and we'll get into this in a minute. But it's the same thing I said about police officers. I called out fat cops on my YouTube. I said fat cops are a liability. You should be an asset. You should be an asset to not only your coworkers. You should be an asset to your family. You should, as an off-duty officer, you should be an asset. If you know you're in a store and it's getting robbed, you know, if you're carrying your weapon, you should be an asset, right? You shouldn't be from the standpoint of, oh, I'm not going to do anything. I don't know how to do anything. I'm not confident in my skills, trained enough to do anything. So, how in the world do we have this epidemic of police officers that are grossly out of shape and grossly undertrained? It's not only is it embarrassing, but it's scary. And I called it out. I said, okay, let's do it. What Tony's doing, when you and I are going to be involved in this coming week, is something completely out of the scope of what law enforcement is doing. And we shared a story earlier where I talked to a young man about incorporating jiu-jitsu into his police agency's training. And what happened? What was his response? The response was his chief said he didn't want any of the officers getting hurt doing the training because it was a liability. And I sat there shaking my head saying, wait a second. So you'd rather your officer possibly lose their life? You said it, get dead? Mm-hmm. Like lose.
What's the alternative?
What's the alternative? So your officer does not have the skills to handle someone in that situation. What do they got to do? They got to shoot him? They got to kill the person? You know, so to me, that is one of the issues that I was having from the standpoint of, you know, changing mindsets of entire communities. But, you know, going back to what you were saying, I can't stand the people who get up on their soapbox and they're saying, you do this, and I'm just going to scream about it. I'm just going to scream about it. And that's what I saw in the NFL, and it was disgusting. And all those African-American players who were doing that subsequently Once the game ended, they did nothing. They never went into any of these communities. They never put a penny out of their pocket to actually change something, to go educate the young people in these communities. They didn't do anything. They just said, how about, okay, Colin Kaepernick's taking a knee against injustice and police brutality. How about you go to a city, round up a group of young men and young women, and say, we're going to invite the cops over? Why aren't these people going in and saying, I want to bring 25 kids and I want you to put them through a 1-week mock police academy to show them what it's like to be in that police car, in that uniform, doing that job. Right. And you know what? I'm an NFL player. I have millions of dollars. I will cover the expense because I want the police to have a better understanding of where these children are coming from. What are some of their fears? What are some of their concerns? What's their background? What did their mom or dad go through? What did their cousin go through? What did their siblings go through with the police that was negative maybe? Because, you know, that all leads to how we act today.
Right.
And have those conversations with their local police, and then have the local police, through maybe an academy setting, say, hey, listen, this is why we do some of the things we do and why we act the way we do in certain situations. So come on over. Let's hear your story. We're going to share with you our training. And so now we both have a better understanding of what it means for us to do our job, and we have a better understanding of why you may react a certain way during a certain interaction between the police.
You know, Suresh, to go back a little bit, John, I got to give you props, man. Earlier when we were talking about the NRA and the whole situation, you know, where they kind of didn't take advantage of, you know, a good situation with Corleone, and you brought up like a good idea would have been like, hey, let's go to Chicago, let's go to Philly, let's go to Detroit, let's pick up 10 kids from the inner city and take them out in the woods and teach them about gun safety and things like that. That struck a chord with me, man, because, you know, I'm just going to be real with you. I ain't trying to play the
You've been saying you're going to be real all show. Just be fucking real.
Just be fucking real, right? You know, my first introduction to a gun, dude, I was 8 years old in the back of a fucking Chevy going to rob a liquor store, trying to join a gang. I'm just being dead honest with you. That was my introduction to a gun, right? No respect for the gun, no way to know what it could be used for properly, all of that. That's big. When you brought that up, I'm like, man, that's hitting home. That's how you fucking start bridging that gap.
Yeah.
And you know, putting your money where your mouth is as far as like bringing the community together and you know what I'm saying? Like,
and you know what you know what that breeds? That breeds respect. That brings in knowledge. So you take those 10 or 15 or 20 kids out and you spend that week with them, teaching about firearm safety, teaching about the woods, wilderness, you know, nature, and giving them the background and the foundation for firearms and safety and, you know, usage and respect for the weapon. And then they're going to go back and what are they going to do? They're going to tell all their friends about what they learned, what they experienced, and hopefully that spreads. And then you wait X amount of time, and then you take another group, and you take another group, and you take another group. Is it going to happen overnight? No, it's not going to happen overnight.
Of course not.
But in time, if you put the time in, I see all these and you know, and listen, we all know some of these worst inner cities, and I'm just going to say it because it's already out there, are run by black Democrats.
Oh God!
Some of the cities that are in the most dire situations are run by black Democrats. And you know what's funny? Most of these political positions don't require any kind of previous knowledge or training. So someone in the community that has some kind of political aspiration, you know, every politician ultimately wants to end up in the White House. Let's not lie about that, right? Every small city mayor, every town council person, their ultimate goal is that they dream of being in the White House someday. They're like, oh, no, I want to help my community. I want to help. You talk to someone on the local school board of education, their ultimate goal in the back of their mind, and they're lying to you if they're not done, they want to make it to the White House. Because you see the progression. They start on the board of education, and then they run for town council. And then they maybe run for like county something. And then they try to get like a position with the governor. And then they try to move up. They ultimately want to be president. And you know what? It starts at like the PTA. Okay, so let's be real. So that progression at that point in time, is there any qualification required? No, I'm just someone in the community, and I want to go on to the town council. And what's your background? What's your knowledge base? Can you imagine someone going into the medical field saying, my name's John Bartolo, and I'd like to go into the medical field and help save patients. Okay, what's your schooling? What's your background? Well, no, I don't have any. But I just want to take this entry-level doctor position and slowly work my way up until I am a top-level surgeon. But I'm just going to kind of learn while I'm on the job. They would, like, commit you, right? But with politics, it's like, yeah, I'm going to come into this town council or this mayor position. I've never run a city or run a lemonade stand, but I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna run this thing, and I'm gonna see what I'm gonna do. And then people are like sitting there wondering why are these cities falling apart? Why are budgets failing? Why is crime skyrocketing? And it's not a knock against. I'm not. It's not like, oh, okay. Republicans are great, Democrats are bad. I don't care about all that. John knows I'm anti-politics altogether. And I think it's just all a sham. But most of these inner cities where some of the worst crime and poverty and unemployment is occurring are run and have been run by black Democrats. What does that tell you? To me, and here's what would happen to me. If I was living in one of those cities and I had one of these people running the city and I was sitting here dodging bullets surrounded by people not working, seeing my friends and family members getting shot, seeing stores shut down, businesses leave the city, and the place going into complete whatever you want to call it. And I would say to myself, hey, whoever's running this show, get them out. I don't care if they're part of the red party, blue party, purple party, yellow party. Get someone else in there who knows what the hell they're doing, because some of these cities, Q, you know this, there's neighborhoods that were like bad when you grew up that are still bad. They're still bad today.
Oh shit, are you kidding?
Right?
Yeah.
I just came from Chicago. There are neighborhoods that, right? There are neighborhoods in Detroit and Chicago, I've been to them, that have been like bad for 30 years now. What the hell is going on?
There are blocks in Inglewood in Chicago. I'm 39. My entire 39 fucking years on this earth, that same block is not a block you go down.
Right?
Inglewood.
Right?
You know what I mean? Like,
right?
Like, where does that happen?
So what is going, like, at what point does someone say, what the hell is going on here? I don't care who's in charge. I don't care if they're the party I'm affiliated with or not. At some point, I'm going to say, get out of here. Let's bring someone in. I don't care what color, what gender, what race they are. Let's get someone in here that's going to make this neighborhood safe. Because if I grew up there as a child and now maybe I'm a parent and I have a child, I'm going to be at my breaking point saying, this place has got to control. Something's got to change here. And the change comes from the top.
Suresh, we got John quiet, man. I don't know what's going on today, man.
I'm doing a little research.
What the hell?
He's finding some research.
The blackness, man.
So to me, that is part of the problem. And you have people who aren't stepping up to do what needs to be. It's funny. It's all these people are talking, and I'm not gonna just bash the people and the leadership in these areas. I watched a video months ago, and I shared this with some of my friends, and they didn't know what to say. It was this woman, this young white woman at some college campus talking about the inequality of and how African Americans are held down, people in minorities are held down, and she's talking about all this, and it was some Ivy League school video. I don't know where the video is. I can find the link. It was like a video within like a news article, and she's talking all this stuff about this, that, and what needs to be done, and inequality and this and that, and the guy who was speaking was like, okay, well, you're here at this Ivy League school that your parents are paying for you to be here, and you're talking about all this inequality and racial injustice and white privilege and all this stuff. And she was a white girl. He said, okay, how about we go down to the registrar's office, you give up your spot here at the university, and we find a young black man or woman to come take your spot. They're going to take your spot, and your parents will continue paying for their education for the next 4 years. And you be the change that you are talking about. You be the change. So let's go on. Let's walk down to the registrar's office right now. You're going to give up your spot here at the university, and you're going to bring in a young African American to take your spot. You ready to go? And you heard crickets. You heard crickets. Because it was easy for her to sit there waving her finger, talking about how, she's disgusted by white privilege and she's disgusted by all these things. But when it was time for her to initiate the change, she said, well, no, that's not what I was talking about. No, that's not what I meant.
I got too real, John.
I meant like the school needs to do something. I mean that, like, rich white people need to do something. I mean, like, the politicians need to do something. She was saying everyone needed to do something except her. And to me, that's the epitome of what we're doing. It's like no ownership. John knows a story. I would arrest young black men for whatever it was that we would arrest them for. They had a warrant or they did something, and they would sometimes give me the sob story about how, they didn't have a dad or they this or that, and all the reasons why they were sitting there in handcuffs right now in headquarters. And I would look at them and be like, hey man, you are saying this story to the wrong person. Because I grew up with all that stuff you're telling me about. I went through the same thing. And look, I had the opportunity to be a physician. I passed on that, and I took the opportunity to become a police officer. And I became a police officer. Now I get a paycheck every 2 weeks. I was able to buy a home. I'm able to drive a nice car. I'm able to, go on some vacations, put some money away. I was able to do all these things. So I said, I don't want to hear it from you about your hardships, because I was able to do it growing up in an all-white town, getting hired at an all-white police department in another all-white town, something that people said that would never happen, I would never do. So I didn't want to hear it. That all went out the...
Tell him you're lying. Tell him you're lying about excuses, John. Come on.
One man's excuse is another man's motivation.
Right? And I said, everyone that said I would never do it, I said, okay, let's go. I said, let's go. Everyone says, like, hold my beer. Yeah, hold on. Let me do it. Well, and to me, that went out the window. And then Barack Obama got voted president. And then anyone who ever said anything to me about not being able to, like, get an opportunity to make it in this country, I would just pull up a photo of Obama and just show him my phone and be like, I'm sorry, what were you saying? What were you saying? What's your excuse about not being able to make it out of a bad situation? Another man who grew up without a father.
What do you mean?
He's in the White House.
They have Hillary, too.
Whatever they have. I mean, it's like crazy. I'm like, what? I mean, you look at, what was his name? You guys could look at the CEO of McDonald's. I don't know if he's still the CEO, but the CEO of McDonald's in North America was a black man. Who made it to the top, and he worked through the ranks. Stop with the excuses. Own the ultimate thing you need to own is that you just don't want it bad enough. And that's what I've told many people, young people, older people, people of color in my time. Own the truth. Take ownership of the fact that you just don't want it bad enough, because those who want it bad enough, they become the CEOs of tactical companies. They become police officers. They make it out of the ghetto. They make it to the top of a corporation like McDonald's. They make it to the freaking White House. Those that want it bad enough own it, that they want it bad enough, and they do it. Those don't take ownership, and they try to point the finger at everyone else and say, you're why, this is why not, this is why I can't. And to me, it's a complete and utter BS story.
I've been quiet because I did a little bit of research, and everybody who knows me knows I don't like to introduce politics into it. But you touched on a couple of points, and you talk about the inner cities. What?
I was seeing what you're looking up.
I can't show you. These are my notes. So I text Q about USA Today, the 25 most dangerous cities or whatever.
I didn't know which one you pulled up.
Yeah, I mean, you can pull it up. It's everybody has a different list and a different criteria, but they listed, interestingly enough, St. Louis, Missouri, number 1.
The Lou.
They introduced Detroit, Michigan, number 2. Baltimore, Maryland, 3. Memphis, Tennessee, and Kansas City, Missouri, rounding it out. I just took the liberty. I was doing a little looking up because I like to put a little fact behind it. And this is why I love Candace Owens and I love this type of topic. Is it a coincidence that all 5 mayors are Democrats?
No, it's not a coincidence.
Is it a coincidence that most of their predecessors were Democrats? And is it a coincidence that several of their poverty rates are in the 20%? Let me read them. Kansas City, that's the list right there, Q. Kansas City, Missouri, poverty rate, this is number 5, 18.3%. Memphis, Tennessee, poverty rate, 27.6%. Baltimore, Maryland, poverty rate, 23.1%. Detroit, Michigan, poverty rate, 39.4%.
Look at that unemployment rate.
It looks like fucking Chernobyl.
Looks like Baghdad.
St. Louis, Missouri, poverty rate, 26.7%. We are in an era right now of the most explosive growth of capitalism we have ever seen. Let me let that sink in. The most explosive growth of capitalism we have ever seen. You can make money on fucking YouTube. But yet we can't fix a city. We can't fix it. Amazon, Google, all these places, they're looking for places to go. They're growing so rapidly. Where can we put jobs? Where can we put people? And like you said, we've heard every excuse. We've heard every reason why not.
Looking at that fucking list, Cleveland, 36% poverty rate. Jesus Christ.
It's crazy.
But how, I'm not shocked. And I guarantee, I could sit here and I could go through the whole list of 25. I'm willing to bet that 20 of the 25 have had or have Democratic leadership. Now, I'll read 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 just in case people think I'm bullshitting. Little Rock, Arkansas, 6. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 7. Rockford, Illinois, 8. Cleveland, Ohio, 9. Stockton, California, 10. I'll give you a wild guess who's probably in charge of Stockton, California.
Right.
It's just one of those things.
And it's the thing that people don't want to talk about. People want to talk about,
and
we were talking about this earlier. Not to jump in here because
No, go
I
ahead.
know we're on rapid fire here, but people don't want to talk about. I had this conversation. Someone sent me a message on Instagram where this police officer was involved in a shooting with a black driver, and was like, "What do you think of this video? 221B Tactical?" And I said, "Well, I think the police officer was on edge because the driver was not, being cooperative." And the driver was on edge because he's dealing with a police officer and he probably has some background of maybe being in fear, whatever that may be. But people are talking about like the percentage of, these officer interactions with black folks and black people of color being shot by police officers. Although the one shooting that someone sent me, the police officer who shot the black man was black himself. I said, what are you talking about here? Like, so they try to make it a race thing, but that's not always a thing. It's a police thing. But we all know the numbers. The numbers are out there. The number of police, and now having done the job for 13 years, I have a little bit of a bias because I've done the job, but I try to keep a level head about it, and I know where some people are coming from when it comes for fear of the police. I get it. I've been pulled over. I deal with, John, you know this, I deal with racism every day. I deal with it on multiple different levels. I've dealt with it on the past. But let me talk about this. The percentage of police officers involved in shooting with young black people or people of color is like microscopic compared to the number of black people who are killed by other black people, the black on black crime. We talked about this. And this is a stat that is just glaring that people don't want to overlook. And and someone said,
How
well,
dare you bring that up?
What do you think? What do you think about this? I said, what do I think about this? What do I think about it? Why are people focusing on the microscopic issue when the main issue, if you truly care about the lives of these people, is so glaring? And so they're like, well, it's an issue, it's a problem. And I said, let me ask you something. If you had 2 water leaks in your house, you had a pipe burst that is gushing water. And then you have next to it a bathroom that has a sink where it has a little bit of a drip and the water is dripping out of the sink. And you call the plumber and you're like, I got a major problem here. There's water. Hey, I need help. I need help. And the plumber came. And the plumber came to your house and said, I got you. Yeah, hey, I'm gonna take care of this like leaking faucet. You'd be like, are you crazy, man? There's a busted pipe there that's blowing water out at 100 miles an hour, and you're going to look at the faucet?
It's a Band-Aid on a hatchet wound.
And it's not even, it's just focusing on the wrong thing.
90Q, what do I always say?
Yeah,
90% of the time on 10% of the problem.
Yeah. They're not
is,
even putting a Band-Aid on the hatchet. Like Suresh said, they're acting like that there is no fucking wound at all.
I'm like, it would be like the plumber was blind to the busted, burst pipe gushing water and is saying, hey, listen, we got to take care of these drops of water coming out of this sink. This is a problem. This is a major issue here. We need to focus on this sink right here. These drops of water, this is the focus, and this is outrageous, and we gotta change this faucet, and we gotta shut this down. And you'd be looking at this guy saying, my man, do you not see like the 5 gallons per minute coming out of that pipe over there? That is what I think about. There are young people of color getting killed by other young people of color or older people of color in these certain areas at an alarming rate. And they're like, no, we got these police officer interactions where, you know, this is the... Is it a problem? And are there bad cops? Are there bad apples? There's bad doctors. There's bad lawyers. There's bad pharmacists. There's bad everything. But the reality is that's not the majority of the problem. Why are we focusing on this microscopic leak when there's a burst pipe pushing out water like a fire hose? Why are we not focusing on that? Because it doesn't get headlines. It's not like the cool thing. I want to see, and I've seen, but it doesn't get any coverage, when a young man or a young woman gets killed in one of these inner cities, you see a small group of people, a very small group of people gathering where the deceased was, and maybe a family member is there. There's one camera, one news camera, and then you have that young person's mother saying, I lost my baby. This has got to stop. I'll never see my baby again. And she's holding a picture of her baby from some maybe school picture, graduation photo, and said, you know, I don't know why this happened, and they got to find the person that did this. And it gets zero coverage. Zero coverage. Why? Because it's just like a black on black crime. It's it's happening every day. But that's the fire hose. That's the fire hose that's going on. And then what happens? Someone robs a liquor store, beats up a store clerk, and then fights with a cop and gets shot. And it is like going like gangbusters. And I'm saying to myself, what is happening here? This is like the Twilight Zone.
You said so much. It comes back to what I mentioned before and what you're touching on, and this is where social media and media in general, if it bleeds, it leads, kind of thing, creates this environment that we live in. This environment kind of flush with, how can we catch them? How can we get an I got you moment? How can we make a viral video? How can we catch a viral video by the tail? How can we have something that is, like Q likes to say, a manufactured crisis? How can we make this a thing?
Oh boy.
Yeah. And
manufactured crime.
And what people look for is they look for these I got you moments. Like, I told you, this is bad. See what's happening? And we got to grab a headline. The Colin Kaepernick thing, albeit may have sparked some dialogue at certain levels. Okay? But like you said, was anything done?
What change came from it?
Was there a lasting effect?
Right.
Was it one of those moments that really sparked national debate? I'd argue no.
I didn't see one debate.
I'd argue no. if anything, it denigrated, it soiled not only a great sport that I know Q played and I did,
I stopped watching.
but caused a lot of people to not only stop watching, because that isn't the platform for it. That isn't the place for it. You're paid millions of dollars to play a game. You were raised, adopted, I believe he was, by a great family. In my opinion, and it's my opinion, he used his platform to basically say, I'm not starting anymore, and I want to go viral, and I want to be seen, and I want to catch a headline. It's this catch a viral moment by the tail scenario. And he sucked a lot of people into it. Now, we can have these debates till we're blue in the face, but you can't tell me that, 5 major sports or 4 major sports, that they all got it right saying everyone's going to stand and cut the bullshit. And the NFL didn't get it, was the one outlier. It's a fucked up thing in society, and I think it transcends color and race.
And what does it do? What's the name of the girl on the U.S. soccer team that took the knee?
Rapinoe,
Yeah.
I think.
Whatever her name is.
Megan something.
Whatever her name is, okay? She's representing the United States of America. And
I'll go on record.
This burned me.
I'll go on record with her. I'm glad you brought that up because this transcends race and we got to go here. Fuck her, Megan Rapinoe. You're representing the United States.
In another country.
In another country.
And getting paid well.
And getting paid.
Well.
Getting paid.
Now, granted, I'll be the first to admit, should the women be paid equally and things like that, okay? But that's a debate for another time.
That's a supply and demand issue.
That's a debate for another time.
Fuck that.
That's
Q
a-
says no.
that's
and
a
it ain't
supply-
got shit to do with women or men or whatever.
No.
I'm going to say,
If your fucking audience, if it's 50 motherfuckers in the audience, you're not going to earn
That's
as much as a
thank you.
arena that's making
Thank-
100,000. Ain't
thank
got shit
you.
to do if you got fucking tits or if you got a dick.
Thank you.
It's just numbers.
It
You
is
kill me with that bullshit.
You know what? To me, listen, I've been to a WNBA game. I've been to a WNBA game.
Unfortunately, so have I.
I've been to a
And I almost went
WNBA
to
game.
sleep.
Yeah, and listen, I didn't go on my own will. Someone took me there. I'll say it, okay. But I'm a basketball fan. I've been to NBA games. I've been to numerous NBA games. But I didn't find, for me personally, and that I'm allowed to have my opinion, that the excitement level was there for WNBA. I'd seen it on TV, and it just wasn't there. And I always noticed, man, the stands are kind of empty. So I went to a WNBA game. The stadium, the arena, was almost empty. And I said to myself, okay, now, I don't know anyone who doesn't know that the WNBA exists, right? Because the WNBA is...
it's established.
It's established. It's known, right? So everyone knows that there's a WNBA. The WNBA has... I saw it today. I was walking through. We were walking through, and we saw the Aces, or the Las Vegas Aces. Okay, so everyone knows it exists. If people are choosing not to accept that offer, then you can't fault the people. Listen, as 221B Tactical, we have products that are our superstar products. We got the Max Drive vest, we got, but then we have products that don't do well because people just don't like them or don't need them, don't care for them, and whatever. We don't sit there and price those products at the same price as the superstar products. And when people don't buy the products that are not popular, we don't sit there and scream and say, hey, listen, this product should be the same price and you should pay the same price as this product over here. Although this one's popular and more people like it, you got to pay the same price here. And that's no. Because
put them on sale.
We put them on sale, we put them on clearance, and we blow them out. And they're like a fraction of the price because the demand isn't there. If people are saying that the WNBA, this is just an example. Now, it's different. Let me say this. It's different in a workplace. If you go into a workplace and you have a man and a woman doing the same job in an
different.
office
Utterly
building,
different.
that's a
Completely.
different story. They should be
Completely
paid
different.
exactly the same.
Exactly.
If it's an office building and they have X role and you have X role and it's a man and a woman, there is no excuse in the world why that woman should be making a penny less than that guy. But when you look at women's sports as an example, and you have the WNBA, and everyone knows the WNBA is there, it's no secret, and people on their own accord are just choosing not to go there to watch the games and pay for a ticket on their own. Now, let me tell you something. There's enough women out there. That arena could be packed with women.
Oh, shit. No, you didn't just say some truth.
It
No,
could
you
be
didn't.
packed with women. Forget the men. Okay, the men want to see the dunks. They want to see the high flying. They want to see the super flying. Why isn't that WNBA arena packed with women supporting those women there? Because you know what? If women packed that arena to support those women on the court would be able to make more money because the ticket sales would be there.
And you know,
Preach.
Listen,
Preach.
we're missing a key element here. We are. Let me say this. It takes time, okay? Not to say they can't get there. It takes time. And I think one of the big mistakes, especially with women's sports and society in general, is we want it now, right? Well, I'm sure Bill Russell wanted to make $100 million a year like
Sure.
Kevin Durant. And Bill Russell probably has 50 times more accolades than Kevin Durant. You think Bill Russell wants the paycheck of the NBA now? Of course he does. Of course he does. But the reality is, he was part of the build. A build that took 50 years. I'd argue till Bird. If you go back and look at Bird and Magic's salaries, Magic had a pretty big salary because he had a unique contract. He had that lifetime Lakers contract.
Yeah.
It was unique, but it still wasn't ridiculously high. I think it was like 25 million. I forget Q. It was like something like that, which was unheard of. And it was like a 10-year deal or something, a 20-year deal.
Jordan was the first one to really
Yeah.
break that. That last
So
couple of years, he had those crazy contracts.
We went from, the NBA was popularized in the 50s and 60s when the Celtics were winning 10, 11 in a row, whatever it was, 10 out of 11. It didn't really hit the big salary numbers till the mid-'80s. Go look at baseball salaries.
Oh, my God.
It wasn't until fucking the 90s that
Yep.
guys started actually, killing it. And for a league that plays 182 games plus a preseason, a lot of those guys were making a couple $100,000. Now, granted, to play a kid's sports, what people don't see is the years they spend making nothing in the minors and everything else coming up. Now, I'm in no way defending the salaries of pro athletes, but it takes time. Yes, women's sports, you've had successes. Yes, women's sports, you're especially women's soccer, you're getting it out there. You're doing a great job. You're way ahead of field hockey. You're way ahead of figure skating. You're way ahead of maybe even in some ways the WNBA. In some ways,
I would say women's
Yeah.
soccer is.
I would say women's soccer might be ahead of the WNBA in terms
without
terms
question.
of the foundation
and the worldwide appeal.
and the worldwide
Yeah,
appeal.
Absolutely,
Definitely.
absolutely.
But I do believe it becomes a supply and demand thing. And I'm sorry, you're not gonna. This isn't. And Q's gonna love this term. We use it a lot around here. This isn't microwave, fast forward, let me get the flux capacitor and let's beam forward 20 years. You have to build, Megan Raponi. You have to build. You're going to need more time. I think women's soccer, what was it, 2000 or something, they started to really lay the blocks down, and they're in a bit of a quandary because soccer is only every 4 years, and then it's every 6 is the World Cup or something. So they have a bit of a quandary there with how that all shakes out. But you're working. You have a great gig. You're representing the country. And let's not get way away from the facts here. You're representing the country.
Why'd she take? What was she taking a knee against? Social injustice, or what was she taking a knee against? I couldn't even.
Equality of pay was the big issue.
Yeah, I had to look it up.
The equality of pay was the big issue. She wanted equal pay. So, sorry, I gotta have some Garrett's, but it was the equality of pay was a major issue. My issue with it is the space in which she chose to do it, representing the country. And I feel like
Now, she has a personal Instagram page.
Mm-hmm.
And she probably has other personal social media outlets, right?
Mm-hmm.
So rather than voice her opinion
on her personal outlet,
she did it on the United States Forum.
Mm-hmm.
And
I just looked up articles, so yeah, it was Kaepernick. She was standing with Kaepernick and stuff.
Oh, so it was it was social injustice.
And to your point, I don't see her at any goddamn United Way Center.
Where is she?
I don't see her
Where
at
is
the
she?
Boys and Girls Club.
Where's she at?
Yeah.
Where's she at?
So miss me with the bullshit.
Where's she at? Where's she at?
Yeah.
Where is she at? Where is she
is there? I'm going to
funding a youth police academy in an inner city to bring the police and the youth of that community together?
Hold on. Here's the quote. I personally have never experienced over-policing or racial profiling or police brutality, but I cannot stand idly by while there are people in this country who have to deal with that kind of heartache. Okay. Well, what the fuck are you going to do about it?
What are you doing about it? What are you doing about it? What are you doing about it? What are you doing? Hey, tell her to call me, because I've had some shit happen to me. Tell her to call me. Help me out, because I've had a lot of stuff happen to me. You don't hear me complaining about it.
What were you about to say, John?
So Megan Rapinoe, according to Players Wiki, which is, it's always somewhere, the truth is always somewhere in the neighborhood. Her net worth is estimated at $2 million. And she reportedly earns in excess of $168,000 a year playing for the Reign FC. And one of the highest paid players behind Alex Morgan and Abby Wambach. Okay? Let me put in a context, people. $168,000 a year.
That's top 2% in the country.
Top 2% in the country.
Yeah.
And she's playing soccer.
She's playing a sport.
She's playing a sport that she loves. And she'll probably have a career in broadcasting after and so on and so forth. And I'd argue she probably makes more from endorsements, things like that. I'm sure of it. I'm sure she's in the neighborhood of a few $100,000. Another page says she makes between $300,000 and $400,000 a year
with endorsements.
With
and
endorsements
sure.
and everything. So I'm sure
I believe that.
I'm sure there's more tied into that.
How much has she put into inner city programs?
I'm sure she lives.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
right? How much she put into inner city programs to help this social injustice that she's never experienced herself, and that's great. She's standing up for that. To me, let me tell you something. I'm going to put this out here right now. I see these white people out there at Black Lives Matters chants who've never been pulled over by the police, who've never been shot at by the police, who've never even been arrested, and I say to myself, man, that is amazing. That is amazing. Standing up for the social injustice and the plight of others and something you've never experienced. That's great. But what
Guys,
these people like this, what are they doing?
I'm going to get us off this topic right now because I have the clincher for Miss Megan Rapinoe. If you want to transcend and you want to get to the next level, and it's about money, Serena and Venus Williams are some of the highest paid athletes on the planet. They earn more than most men. You've never heard them cry out. You've never heard them really complain. I haven't.
I haven't.
Someone can let me know. Comment below. But they do it because they're good business women. I think one of them owns a piece of the UFC, as quiet as it's kept. They're good business women. They get themselves out there. They market themselves right. And they're in a sport I've never watched a day in my life, not even by accident. So cry me a river. That's all I have to say about it.
I think that once again, you have a situation where people are willing to speak up and speak out, yet they're not willing to take action on their own to the point where they themselves may have to maybe do something, take money out of their pocket.
Listen, I think it's all horseshit. I think if Megan Rapinoe had a $20 million endorsement deal from somebody else or anything else, you never would have heard a word from her about social injustice or anything else. case closed. I think it's just one of those things. You know, I don't care what you tell me.
Yeah.
You know, it's you look at Serena and Venus. They work hard. They get their shit done. They're in ads. They own companies. I think one of them owns a piece of a water brand, and it's just, you know, they're just out there hustling and getting it done. And it comes back to what you originally said: get out and hustle and just earn it every step of the way, and you'll get the income, and you'll be able to employ the people, and you'll be able to do the things that you want to do. So you know what? And you can build your own brand.
Yep.
Just give me a break with that shit. So let's go on to another topic here that we feel we got to touch on. We have so many different influences and social influences. I wanna ask you this: what influences you, and who out there do you kind of keep your eye on, and who do you feel people could benefit from paying attention to, and who's preaching the good word, and even in politics?
I don't get into politics too much because I feel like there's always, you know, an underlying, you know, agenda to most politicians, and I feel like, you know, I'll say this on politics. I feel like even the good politicians that make it to Washington, that have the ability to make change, I think that once they get to Washington, they realize their hands are tied. They're gripped. They're gripped by the establishment in place. And they realize that as much as they want to make that change, and as much as they want to impart that change to their community or where they came from or the country as a whole, they're gripped by the establishment. And you're going to go backwards. So what happens is you go in with the best intentions, and you realize that if you push the agenda of trying to go the route and go down that road you want to go down, you will soon be ejected out of Washington. So now and
then before you know it, it's just more of the same.
Right. So now they're juggling.
Right.
They're saying, wait a second. You know, if I really push this agenda and I try to go against the already existing political system,
I'm out on my ass.
I'm going to be out on my ass, and I don't want to be out on my ass. I want to stay here. So what am I going to do? I'm going to play the game. And let me see if I could just maybe kind of bend around what I really, you know, am passionate about and what I really want to do and really what I promise my constituents. And then everyone says the same thing. Hey, man, we voted this guy or this woman in to office, and they went to Washington. We sent them to Washington. And now they're not doing what they said they're going to do. And I truly believe, and I'm going to say, I'm not a big fan of politicians, but I truly believe that they go there with the best of intentions. And
I agree.
And then the reality of where they are hits them.
Yep.
And they just are like, oh, man, okay, so I can't really push this or else I'm going to be ousted. And I'm not going to be here. So let me just kind of just go with the flow and see what little changes I can make so I don't get, like, booted out of here.
That's what I've been saying for years, man. I'm not trying to fucking call for, you know, take the government down or whatever, but I've been saying for years, the whole thing needs to be taken down. The whole thing. Democrat, Republican, all it, just tear it down to the studs, man.
It's a
joke. It's a joke.
It's a flawed system. And let me tell you, if a private company ran that way, you know it'd be out of business. If a private company ran that way, it would be out of business. They have no control over their budget, and they have no control over what actually needs to be done to impart change. You know, so to me, that's, like you said, Q, that's a system that definitely needs a complete overhaul. And there's too many people in there with their own agendas, butting heads, not willing to work together, and it just doesn't lead to anything positive. And that's why nothing gets done. Everyone says nothing gets done. Nothing gets done. And then, you know, next thing you know, something has to happen. They're like, oh, Congress is in recess. Recess? What the heck's going on? Recess?
No,
I'm like, what?
Fucking 9
like,
weeks
what
and
is
shit.
going
like,
on here?
Fuck that.
What is going on? And then they come back and they're like spending millions of dollars and months of time listening to some baseball player who was accused of taking steroids. Like, what is that? What does that have to do with anything? Why doesn't Major League Baseball deal with that? Why are they in front of Congress? We got like people dying. We have veterans not getting medical attention, dying on our streets, dying waiting to get into the VA, and they're talking to some baseball player who took steroids to hit some home runs.
Please, Suresh, they're PEDs.
I'm like, what the hell is going on here? What the hell is going on? So anyway, so you said, what motivates me? What motivates me and what drives me? You know,
Well, I sure as shit know it ain't Jesse Jackson.
That was offensive.
Well,
now Freddie Jackson.
No, Freddie.
Freddie Jackson. Freddie
Or
Jackson.
Tito Jackson.
Tito.
Don's
Tito.
favorite.
Tito.
That's the
Tito's my
favorite
favorite.
Jackson,
Tito.
brother.
Jermaine.
Jermaine though. So you know,
Michael.
part of what drives me, I love people who are pushing the envelope on innovation. And to me, I don't care. To me, there's no such thing as crazy, because crazy people who are called crazy, are the reason why we are here today. You know me, John Bartolo.
I'm fucking crazy. You know that. I don't give a fuck.
They're the ones that, and you know, I know there's people who have said, man, that John Bartolo, he's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
He's doing some stuff that like no one else is doing. And
What
you
is
know
he
what?
thinking?
What is he thinking? What is he thinking? You know what? Here's the thing. When Steve Jobs said, you know what, we're gonna make a cell phone
That's more powerful than the lunar lander.
and it's not gonna have any buttons, people probably whispering in the back room after that meeting. They were probably like,
This motherfucker.
this guy's
I
crazy.
just
He's
told
going
people
crazy.
I'm not
He's going
trying
crazy.
to I'm not trying to play the game. I'm here to change it.
Yeah, right.
And every step of the way, the shit that I dealt with, at least, and you know, because you lived with me every step of the way.
Yeah, I've been there.
You know, you've been there with me. You know, I listened to people tell me everything I was, and every step of the way, I'm like, well, that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Tell me more. And, you know, everybody who, I think what scared people the most about me, you know, as far as I'm concerned, is I had a voice. And I always had a platform to give that voice. And I would give opinions that people weren't ready to hear yet. Whether that was the fitness component, whether that was calling people fat, whether that was saying you need to have better accountability, better conditioning, you need to work harder, you need to work smarter, you know, coming at people and saying, I want to be in the gun industry. We've talked about this.
Yeah. You weren't
I
Special Forces
I
ninja.
wasn't special ninja door gunner. A little bit of a background, nothing exciting. I knew enough. But that offended people. Oh, there's no way. When you walk around the gun industry, and I was a big advocate of peeling back the curtain, 90% of your owners and people behind the curtain, you just sat with one today, half of them look like they've never shot a gun in their life. It blows my mind.
And most people don't realize that. And
They
to
don't.
me, you have the people who are influenced by this media, which is like, you know, as we talked about, you know, Instagram is dead. Most people don't know it yet. Instagram's dead. Cable TV has already died. We already had the funeral. We had the wake, and we had the funeral.
We're spreading the ashes.
And we had the repast. It's all done. So most people don't even know what's happening in front of them. But that being said, I've talked to you about this. You know, listen, you could be a cop. You know, I did 13 years. You could be a cop. And, you know, I was able to become a firearms instructor, and I was able to share some of my knowledge throughout the years with some different people. And, of course, you know, develop products to help cops. But people are like, oh, you're a cop, but were you SWAT? No, I wasn't SWAT. Oh, okay. But let me tell you, and I said this to you.
Did you kill anyone?
If I was SWAT, people would be like, oh, but were you a SWAT sniper? No, but I was SWAT, but I wasn't a SWAT sniper. Okay. And then if you say, well, you know, I was a SWAT sniper. Oh, you were, but were you ever you ever serve? You ever served in the military? No, I never served in the military. But if you said you served in the military, what were you doing, infantry or were you special forces? I was only infantry. Oh, you weren't special forces. You say you were special forces, what were you? Were you Delta? Were you Green Beret? No, I was it. But if you say you were, they're like, oh, you were, but you weren't a Navy SEAL. Well, okay. Well, I was a Navy SEAL. Okay, were you on Team 6? Were you on Gold Team? No, I wasn't. Well, if you were on Gold Team, were you team leader? It just never is enough. It's never enough.
That's a very unique thing to the gun industry. And I try to explain that to people, and I try to articulate it to people. And we've dealt with it every step of the way. You know, that's a big thing. And I've had multiple conversations with people about it, with Tony, with different folks. It's very strange to me. It's confusing to me because I don't get it. I legitimately don't get it. I don't understand. Like, I'm like, okay, and if I was, what does that get me? If I apply for the job and I'm good at it, do I not get the job because of that? Like, I'm confused as to, I try to find, you know, what that gives me. You know, 500 likes equals $0, right?
$0.
$0.
10,000 likes equals $0.
Equals $0. So I'm trying to figure out, like, I mean, am I missing something here? Like, what's the catch? And, you know, I think social media, there's these I gotcha mobs, there's these try to get you mobs, there's these, and you go through it in every community, you go through it in the minority community, you go through it, and everybody's trying to put people on a cross and basically, you know, say, you know, he means this, he means that. I have an open forum. I'm blessed, knock on wood, that this is an open forum. You want to ask me the question directly? Ask. I'll answer it. The best of my ability, at least. I'm no expert. But I'm trying to create open dialogue as much as I can. And I feel to a lot of the photo mongers on social media, people that lived in that, I can take a photo and I can be anything I want to be in a photo. This forum, this type of stuff scares the shit out of them.
Because they can't do it.
They can't do it. They can't speak it. They can't come on and have a dialogue. I'm more than willing to say I'll sit across from anybody. I'll invite my worst enemy on and say, what does that get me? I'll ask the question. I'm applying for a job at X. What does that get me? I'm confused. I'm trying to understand it. And I think people obsess over that thing, but it's obsessing over the wrong thing. Do you want your engineer in your factory to be an expert at CAD? Or would you prefer that he was a security specialist? No. You'd want him to be an expert in CAD.
Yeah.
Having anything else is a bonus. I'm not taking anything away. It's a bonus.
Here's we want to talk about foresight, right? Here's what I envision. I envision in the next few years when Instagram is completely dead.
Well, it's already dead now, and I'll tell everybody why, because I know everybody's going to say, well, why do they say that? It's because you're betting on how much somebody's willing to swipe down.
Right.
And it's just a here and now. It's a quick, it's this. That's all Instagram is it's quick. They're trying to figure it out. They're trying to pump in things like IGTV, but it's never going to be
It's never going to work.
Yeah.
Here's the problem, and here's the question you ask. And I ask this to the people listening. If you had to pay $9.99 a month to follow an Instagram account, how many accounts would you be following? Almost none. Almost none. I asked that on my story a couple times. That is the reality. All these people who are Instagram influencers with their, buy my whatever that I'm hawking this year and this week, and use my code for 10% off or 50% off or 90% off, and you see all this stuff. It's like Instagram is flooded with it. These influencers who behind the scenes really aren't anything. They're just they have this phony world on Instagram, and you say that first and foremost, no one's clicking on that. No one's doing it. No one's using those codes. Those codes are probably used at like a fraction of a percent. But that being said, what is that person offering to the general population? And would someone pay $5.99 to follow their account?
Right.
Probably not. Right. So that goes to show you the value. Now, here's what's going to happen. Talk about foresight. There's going to be a time where people are sitting back and realizing there's going to be a generation, it's going to be our generation, where people are sitting there. They are not going to look nice anymore physically. They're not going to be in a position, whether it's their full-time faux position or part-time faux position or whatever. They're not going to have that position. They're not going to look the part, and they're going to be sitting there broke because not enough people use their 10% off codes, and they're going to be saying, "Man, I spent an ungodly amount of time making posts and making videos for Instagram that got me absolutely nowhere. Instagram killed me. It was free entertainment for people who would have never paid for it. They would have never paid for it. And I subsequently what I got was an instant gratification of someone double tapping it. Because we know that what less than 1% of Instagram posts are actually read. So someone double tapped it. It made me feel good. It got some likes. It got some views. Maybe made some people laugh. People got to see my boobies. People got to see my buns hanging out of my shorts, or they got to see my boobs popping out my turtleneck, and it made me feel good because they double tapped on the photo. I was holding a gun, but I never shot a gun like this in my life before. I'm wearing this outfit, but I don't wear it in real life, and now I am 40, 50 years old. I'm broke, and I realized, man, maybe I should have had like a real part-time job and put those hours into that,
or developed a brand,
or something, or
actually developed a brand,
right? And oh man, well now what am I going to do?
Let me go a step better. This will blow everybody's mind out there. Let me go a step better. Unless you have a brand, and I don't mean this directed at everybody, but ask yourself a better question. Looking at your page, looking at things you post, looking at to all the social media mavens out there. 3 to 5 years from now, a minute from now, nobody's going to care. They're going to be on to the next one.
Literally 2 minutes from now.
Nobody cares. Nobody's going to care. It's so instantaneous. And it definitely doesn't live forever because nobody's swiping more than once or twice down.
Did you see there was someone did that I don't know, focus group where they gave people phones with Instagram accounts preloaded on them, and they said go through. And literally, I think it was like 4 minutes later, they showed them posts, and the people didn't even recognize the post, yet the people had liked the post. What is that? Who was I listening to? I was listening to someone the other day, and they were like, and I'm going to get into this. Remember, we're going to talk about Q. Don't let me forget. We're going to talk about reading books. We're going to talk about everyone's going to be getting a library card after this. Oh, yeah,
Sweet pickles.
Right. It's about to get real. So listen. So you're looking at right now. They said the attention span of humans, because of what we're going through, has dropped to 4 seconds. 4 seconds. Goldfish have an attention span of 5 seconds. So in this in this race of life,
Fucking crazy.
in life, in this battle of life and like sustaining life.
Oh, listen. You're on the right
We're
path.
going against goldfish, and goldfish are winning. I think it was Ty Lopez that said that. Goldfish are winning. I mean, that is crazy. That is crazy. We're going through. So anyone who says that any of this stuff is relevant or valuable, they're going to be suffering one day. And I feel bad because I know a lot of people on social media. John, you know this too.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people on social media that they're a one-trick pony. They post the same message and a version of the same photo every day, and that's all they have. That's the only thing they have. And I know the people are listening to this. It's going to be offensive. They're going to be butthurt, and I get it. But this is the hot, hard truth. If you are sitting there on social media and you are not putting out value to people every day, and your message is essentially the same thing every day, you have no value whatsoever. You have no personal brand. You have no personal capital. If you can't sit there and talk for 20 minutes on YouTube and put some knowledge out there that's going to help people, help them change their lives, help them be better, and the only thing you have is to post a photo of you in the mirror at the gym saying, you got to work hard, work hard. You gotta get up. You gotta do it. You gotta, no one's gonna do it for you. You gotta put in the work, and it's all about you. And you gotta hustle, and you gotta this, and happy Friday, y'all. And you're like, what in the world? Like, I would love to do a research. How many women post a selfie of themselves on Friday with the text narrative, "Happy Friday, y'all"? Well, how many women on a Friday do that?
It comes down to knowing that you can do things to satisfy and satiate the here and now, but the problem is a lot of them don't have, like, you look them, and I've had this, Q, you know what I'm talking about. I've had this conversation with people directly to their face. I say, geez, that's great. You're doing great with your media. What's gonna happen after? And they look at you like, what do you mean after?
What's after?
And I'm like, well, I mean, it's kind of like you have a plan, you have a transition plan, you working on something else, are you developing out another platform, are you working on your personal brand, do you have a website, are you selling something, are you, at least put those I can live with it if you're maximizing everything in the here and now. You got a website, you got things clicking, otherwise it comes down and you're just chasing the likes, or you're chasing the follows, or you're chasing the here and now. And they don't have a plan. And you'd be shocked if you lined up 10 influencers, okay? And I've had this conversation with many marketing directors, so now this is something that's going to get fucking deep with me. The reason I say Instagram is dead is every market. I'm going to give a big clue out there to everybody that's looking for a sponsorship or free stuff or whatever the fuck. Every single marketing director says the same thing. Now when I sit with people and they say I have an Instagram and I have 100,000 followers or 50,000 and I have this, they say, okay, what else you got?
Yep.
That's how you know it's over. Over. That's how you know. Because there's so many other dynamic, good people out there. I have a prediction. It's going to shift. It's shifting now. More towards, and I said this to a company that called me. They said, well, who do you think we should hire and bring in? I said, I think you should start to look to bring in and hire creators. People who create content. You're a business owner, multi-million-dollar company. Who's more valuable to you? An Instagram ambassador, influencer, or somebody who actually creates real content? Drivable content with multiple faces.
I'm going to tell you a true story.
Mm-hmm.
Someone DM'd 221B Tactical the other day. I said, hey, I got 32 point something thousand followers. I got, this is my page. I post cop stuff, this, that, and the other thing. And I would love for you to send me some of your products so I can review them, and I'll post about them on my page. I went to the page. So the team sent me that message, right? Mm-hmm. I read the message. So I went to that person's page, and someone from the office was like, yeah, this person has like 30-something thousand followers, and their engagement is, okay. And they're getting an average of like, 300 likes per post. So I personally messaged the person back, and I said, what products were you interested in? Oh, I was thinking about, your gloves and your Max Dry vest, for the body armor ventilation and all that stuff. And I said, you have a YouTube channel? They were like, no, but I'm thinking about starting one. But I'm going to make a killer video, and I could post it to IG. I said, you know what? You're going to post that video, and 24 hours later, no one will ever see it again. No one will be able to search for it. No one will ever remember it. It'll be dead. And they were like, well, I'm going to start a YouTube channel. I'm about to start a YouTube. I said, when you start a YouTube channel,
call me.
Call me. Let me know, because YouTube is searchable and YouTube is more powerful. And it goes into Google Analytics. You and I both know that. And the person was like, well, I got a strong following, and I got a strong law enforcement and military following on my page. And I said, I don't know if you know, but and I don't mean to be the one to tell you this, but Instagram is dead. I don't care how many followers you have. It's dead. It's over. And they were like, oh, I didn't know. And that's the problem. That's the problem.
Well, and there's so many debatable structural things that you can get into this, and we can go down a wormhole. But it's just now everybody's sponsored, and everybody's everybody's given a code, and everybody, you probably of the say 500 accounts I follow, and I try to follow less. I'm actually in a quest to follow less. There's probably more than half that anybody now can. I'll give everybody a good sponsorship tip. Anybody can call any company and say, give me a code.
Anybody can. You don't need to be an influencer with 1 million followers. You can call a company and say, hey, if you give me a code, I'll post it. They'll give you a code.
Because every company's figured out the key. The more you are like Amway, and I'm going to burst everybody's bubble, the more money you make.
That's right.
And I could run a test right now, start an Instagram account. I challenge somebody, just start an Instagram account from scratch. Scratch. Zero. And DM people. I bet you would say yes to this over the 30,000 guy. I'm starting a brand new account. I'd love to get your support, Suresh. Can you supply me with a 10% off 221B code? 0 followers. I'm building it from scratch.
Here you go.
What would your answer be?
Here you go. I wouldn't even respond. I would just send them the code.
Yep.
Here's your code.
New guy, 10. New guy, 10.
Not 9.
They can call.
8,
they can call.
10.
How's this? Call in and ask for me at KVAR. Call in. Call in today, and say all you want's a code. I'll walk outside. Get Dave. I'll walk outside. We'll start a campaign right now, and I'll give you a code.
100%. Yeah.
You're sponsored.
There you go.
You're sponsored. I'd make a bet. You could probably call. I don't want to go too crazy. You could probably call any company out there, any brand, and if you can get them to answer you, that's the trick. Get them to answer you.
Yeah.
And get something similar worked out.
They'll give you one.
Oh yeah.
Like these new energy drink companies that are popping up everywhere. Yeah.
Hi, I'm a bang girl.
That's it.
So
that's it.
Dave's calling me. He's outside the door. We're on air.
We are on air.
What the hell does he want? What the holy hell?
Will you design a code for anybody out there? All right. I just got confirmation. We're on air. We're wrapping up soon. We got to get some lunch.
Leave me alone, man.
He's calling me from out there.
We're going to do a code.
We're going to do a code. So anybody who wants to call in to KVAR and request the code, you're sponsored.
Done. It's a done deal.
And you'll do the same.
Same thing with 221B Tactical.
Sponsored.
You're sponsored. I want to touch on something.
Make 2 sales and we'll give you a T-shirt.
Make 4, you get a hat.
Make 4, you get a hat.
Hat.
And just in case anyone thinks I'm bullshitting, First Form uses the same model.
Yes, they do.
Onnit uses the same model. Surprise.
Contact them. All you need to do is email them. If you'd like to become a First Form Legionnaire, email them. They will give you a code. They will make you purchase a T-shirt. You don't get it for free, I don't believe. And you will then begin posting about their products that you purchased full price. You will begin posting wearing their shirt that you paid for, and you will post your code.
So we've gone long.
And you'll remain broke. Can I touch on one thing?
Go ahead. We're at an hour and 50.
It was something on my notes.
Go ahead.
It was something on my notes, and I have to touch on this.
Reading is fundamental.
Reading is fundamental. Thank you, Q. John, what do you do when you don't know how to do something?
I'm going to be 100 with everybody.
He asked me.
I go honestly at this point.
You go to YouTube?
I go to YouTube right now,
Yeah.
and I try to see what's out there.
Yeah.
That's kind of my search bar for that. Secondly, depending on the topic, or I'll Google it and see what comes up, and I'll see what I can look into. So I'll give a prime example, and I'll throw it back to you. When we wired all this, there was a lot we didn't know. And Q and Rory will attest to this. We used a lot of YouTube and a lot of Google and a lot of help from Derek and my friends that came in and helped us. But there was a lot of that. Fair to say, Q?
Help. You got help.
Oh, without question.
Yeah.
Without
help.
question.
So,
Yeah, you got help.
yeah.
So, I know so many people who don't know how to do things, and then they'll look at people who are doing things. And as you know, they might have animosity toward these people who are doing these things, right? And
No.
right? You know a little bit about that.
A thing or two.
Right? And people will say, how do you do this? How do you do this? How do you do this? There is help out there, and it is called the library. I know this is going to sound crazy.
The internet's a library.
You know what? Most people don't know. I mean, most people in this generation, like you ask young kids, and you ask them about Amazon, and they're like, yeah, Amazon is where you can go to buy anything. Amazon started selling books, right? Amazon started selling books, and people were reading books and purchasing books. And in this day and age, I tell people, you can watch YouTube videos, but if you want a deep understanding of something and how to do it, read a book. Buy the book and read it. How do I start a business? You could watch a couple of YouTube videos, but buy the book. Read the book. How do I save more money? You could watch YouTube videos. Buy the book. How do you save someone from choking on a podcast next to you?
I went down the dry hole.
That's never good. That is never good.
Keep going. I'm good.
Read the book. So people message me from time to time, and they'll say, do you have a video that, what's the link or what? I say, you know what? There are videos out there, and YouTube is a great source, but buy the book, read the book. Don't read it once. Read it twice. Read it 3 times. The first time you read, second time's for recursion, right? So you want to read it 3 times. And people are like, read a book 3 times? I just want to learn how to save more money. Let me tell you something. If you want to save more money, to have a better future, to take care of your family, and afford the things in life that you want to have to survive, and you don't have the time to read a book about personal finance 3 times, then you're not serious enough about it. You need to be obsessed with it in order for you to succeed at it. Otherwise, you're just lying to yourself, and you're lying to everyone else you know. And people don't get that. People see obsessed as a bad word. And I tell people, the cops I know, you need to become obsessed with your training, whether it's jiu-jitsu, whether it's on the range. You need to become obsessed with it because it's something that could get you killed. And that's part of why we do at 221B Tactical with our gear. We're obsessed about it. People are like, you're obsessed about your gear. Yeah, that's right, I am. And that's important. It's important to be obsessed if you want to incorporate a change in your world or in the world. It needs to become an obsession.
I want to end on that because that's important. And not only that, our recorders are going to run out of space. So
we've been doing a lot of talking.
So no, it's good. It's all awesome stuff. I mean, you nailed it. You killed it. We hit every topic. There's a million clips and snips in here, and there's so much that we're going to come back to. So I want to have you back in.
We're going to have to do a second one.
We're going to have to do a second one, 100%.
Second
and a third one. Tell everybody where you are and where they can find you quick, and we got to wrap because we only have probably 90 seconds of tape left.
Go on to the World Wide Web and type in 221B
there it is for everyone.
Tactical, and you'll find everything. You'll see the Gram, you'll see the Facebook, and most importantly, you'll see the YouTube channel, and you'll see our blog, you'll see everything. So Google 221B Tactical on the World Wide Web, internet, and interweb, and you'll see it there.
And Instagram and everything else at 221B Tactical, and your personal page. Don't hesitate to slide in the DM. He's pretty active on there. He'll answer you and shoot him contact us on the page. I want to thank everybody here. I want to thank Q. I want to thank Kavar. Go visit kavar.com. Don't forget to check out kavar.com. Obviously, it goes without saying, special thanks to Suresh for coming out and tackling some of these topics and giving us some insight. I drank his Bang Energy drink clearly, and I'm flying. So.
And I want to say thank you. Thank you to Kavar. Thank you to everyone here, the staff, John.
Yeah.
And
Dave,
just
everybody. Yeah, no, appreciate it. And thanks for letting me steal
soon,
your Bang.
brother.
So
yeah, man.
we're going to sign off. We're going to be out. We're going to eat some popcorn and get some lunch.